Searching for a job can be a difficult task. With some areas, finding a job can be the easiest thing in the world, and others, not so much. It's to the point that some people have referred to this as the humiliation ritual of job searching. I talked about a little bit of this previously in the previous video where I talked about how typical jobs just kind of suck. Because whether you want to admit it or not, the worst part about jobs is actually looking for a job. I haven't had the best luck. I have emails upon emails of like, oh, your application has been denied. We're not moving forward with you. Or our hiring process has moved forward and unfortunately we did not select your application. Things like that. And that's kind of how it goes. You kind of have to expect it, but it gets to a point where if you do it so often, it just feels like a humiliation ritual. And so I know a few people who have tried to get jobs when they've gone in, like, I sent an application, I'd like to check up on where it's at in the application process. And the response that they have received was, we'll look into it. They were later blacklisted for harassment. I want you to let that sink in just a little bit. They were blacklisted for harassment. And it wasn't anything that would be considered harassment. So that's something that can happen. And again, there's I'm putting in 50 to 100 applications every week to find a job, and instead it's getting denied, or it's not going anywhere, or I'm not receiving any word back for months on end. It's so ridiculous. And then there's all kinds of different ways that every website and company has you put in a resume or apply for their job. Lowe's, I think, has the worst freaking hiring practice of any company. Oh, let's make it a long, convoluted process that discourages you from even wanting to work here to begin with. Even though we're always hiring, we are always looking for people to work for us. Let's make it nearly impossible to actually apply. Like, what do you mean I have to talk to some chatbot to apply? Oh, I gave you my resume? Well, now you have to fill out a new resume form. Well, what do you mean I have to fill out a new resume form? I just gave you my f***ing resume. So that's where the aspect of it feels like a humiliation ritual. And so some people have found loopholes around that. Some have worked. And some have led to being blacklisted from the hiring process. Because it's no longer like it was back in 20th century, the 1900s, where you could just go in, a firm handshake will net you a job. Yeah, like I said, it's a long, convoluted, difficult process. So these processes that people have found have been to go in, talk to the manager, or like whoever's in charge of the hiring process. Like, hey, I was scheduled for an interview at this time. I was told to come in. Oftentimes that does work, which interesting, but also depends on the area, because if the area that you go to or the area that you're in and you try and get a job there, if they're like very strict on that, then you could get poor treatment. It's like, no, all hiring stuff goes through. Like, it just depends. Like, some places could be like, well, no, all the hiring stuff goes through me. I would know if I saw your application. Or again, back to the other one where you get blacklisted from being hired. Another one is going in before applying and like asking about it. Like, hey, what's it like working here? Show interest. I know that's what one of my friends does. Anytime he's on a job, he'll usually order something. He'll sit down and he'll like ask an employee, or if like the employee seems knowledgeable enough, he'll ask them how that hiring process is, like what it's like to work there, or if the employee doesn't know much, or if the employee doesn't really know, then the manager might come to the table and be like, hey, I heard you're interested. Yeah, so getting hired here, working here is like blah, 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 that kind of thing. So that's worked for him quite well. But that's also, it works well for him for the area that he lives in. Because he lives in rural Texas, and it's relatively easy to get a job in that area, from what it sounds like. And when that doesn't work, like, people have resorted to other forms of like making money. I know there's like side gigs, side hobbies, side gigs that net you money. There's other ways. You can also do deliveries and stuff. Now I've moved to doing deliveries for Uber Eats. I've had decent fun doing that. I wouldn't say enough to like live in an apartment, but enough to get by and certainly pay for gas and checking all the stuff in my car. and a few bills, but that's because I'm also having to balance that with my school. There's also door dashing, so there's people who do that and they make a decent amount of cash that way. Basically what I'm saying is like job searching is hell. There's no way around it, and you have to figure out how it's supposed to work, and people refuse to let you figure out how it's actually supposed to work, particularly employers for some weird reason. It's like, oh, we're hiring, but we're not actually hiring. We just say that we're hiring because it looks good on our stuff and it looks like we're expanding. It's like, come on. Searching for a job is so fucking humiliating sometimes, I swear. Everyone runs into this for some reason. You need 15 years of experience for an entry-level position. 15 years. 10 years for entry-level position, mind you. Minimum wage entry-level positions can be that way for some godforsaken reason. It makes no sense. But yeah, day 12. Woohoo! Searching for a job is so fucking humiliating sometimes, I swear.